Hi folks, so this video is going to be thinking about how to approach the woman in black question in the AQA Exploring Modern Texts exam. Now, I've picked a question from a past exam paper, and it's how does Hill create tension and suspense in the second chapter, A London Particular? And I've picked this question because it's one of those great questions where the exam board have told you exactly what they want you to refer to and where they want you to refer to in the book, so you're not going to waste time flipping through looking for sections to find that perfect quote. Now, in this case, we've been asked to refer to the second chapter, A London Particular. And as you will in the exam, I'm going to have a look through the question and I'm going to pick out the keywords from it. And in this case, we've got the words tension and we've got the words suspense. And because the exam board have asked me about two different things, I'm going to make it really clear in my response that I'm viewing them as two different things, that I'm going to be responding about how Hill creates tension and how Hill creates suspense. So to draw that distinction, I need to pull out some synonyms of the keywords, just like we've done in lesson. And I think what we need to do is draw a distinction between times when the audience is actually scared, thinking, oh, is something bad going to happen, and times when the audience knows something bad's going to happen and they're kind of waiting for it. So I'm going to think of suspense, to use a literary term, as foreshadowing. And I'm going to think about kind of anticipation. And thinking about synonyms for tension, I'm going to think about kind of real jeopardy, times when you don't know if the character's at risk or not. You don't know if there's something dangerous leaking around. So it's that idea of fear. Now, I've picked out two quotations that I can link to both of these parts, and I'm going to show you what I mean by linking to both of these parts as I start picking it out. So the first quotation I've picked is this kind of describing the London Particular. It was a yellow fog, a filthy, evil-smelling fog, a fog that choked and blinded, smeared and stained. They were confused by having their eyes covered and being turned about in a game of blind man's bluff. So the words that I've picked out from this, I'm picking out the word evil because it kind of suggests that this fog is self-aware. It's got kind of a malevolent intent. Now, I've also picked out the word choked here because it's kind of got connotations of death, which kind of does both of these things. It creates tension and suspense because we've got this idea of, oh, are they in danger in the fog? And of course, foreshadowing of the death that's to follow. So connotations of death with that. And the fact that this fog's been personified, that it's blinded, it's smeared, it's stained, it's choked, it's covering people's eyes, it's turning people about. So this sort of personification of the fog. And again, as I've said before, we're not looking for you to go through and spot as many different language features as you possibly can. So Hill creates tension by using personification because it still doesn't actually say anything. So we need to think why she used personification. So we're thinking, okay, we've got this personification of the fog. And that could be representing kind of this first element of our suspense, that it's symbolic of Arthur's lack of understanding of the kind of dangers to follow. And that's kind of that first element where we're thinking about suspense. First kind of obvious element. Now, I've also picked out the fact that we've got this language of this sort of a game, this semantic field of games, to use another literary term, which again implies that Arthur doesn't really know how serious his situation might get and will get. And then I'd kind of go through, and I've picked another quotation here where we've got this idea of what figures I could make out fumbling their way through the murk were like ghost figures. And the word I've picked out is fumbling because it implies that they're out of control. It implies that they're helpless almost in this fog, which again links to this idea of tension. The audience don't know if something may be lurking in that fog. I've also picked out the simile we've got at the end of the sentence here where they're being described as being like ghost figures. And of course, when we're thinking about developing suspense, we know that this is a ghost story that's being told, and it's one of our first clues towards the ghostly goings on that are going to unfold. So it's kind of foreshadowing the woman in black, really. Now, you should be about 5 minutes into your exam by now. You've gone through, you've picked out the keywords from the question, you've thought about synonyms for those keywords, you've picked quotations that link to both elements or all elements of the question that you're being asked about, and then you've picked out and annotated those quotations to show how they link back to that question. You are now perfectly set to sit and write this. Remember to use point, evidence, explain, explore, develop. It's the same skills that they're looking for. Answer the question. Make sure you say something interesting, don't just rephrase it. Use specific detail. If I can write today. Explain how your detail proves your point. Analyze at word level and sentence level, and evaluate. Most being our keyword, remember. And that's it.